and I will upload it onto the YouTube channel later. Which, by the way, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, it's CB Marketing. So I want everybody to get familiar with that too. Go to that page, make sure you subscribe because I'll be posting all of our videos on there. Okay. So let's share screen. Let's get into this. Can everybody see? You can't tell me no because I can't see.
Yeah, we can see.
Now.
Okay. Yep, we're good.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. That. Your first task is going to be to go into mycbdesk.com. So hopefully everybody has their login information for that and at least are familiar with this desk dashboard here. But we're looking for this tile right here. Yours may be in a different order, but we want to click on this Moxi Works tab to get into our presentation. We're going to get this screen to pop up. Sometimes it takes a second to load, but this is what we're looking for. We're looking for this new taskbar up here. And then we are going to click presentations. Again, anybody stop me if you're somehow not following along or not seeing what I'm seeing.
I missed the part where you log in. What it says Caldwell Banker Barnes up there, but what is this through?
You're going to be in CB Desk first, mycbdesk.com.
I can't get to it.
Okay, if you can't get logged into it, maybe just keep trying it. You might have to ask for your password or reset your password. But super easy. When you are in here, click Moxi Works. And then we're going to go into presentation.
It should be the same password that you have for everything else in Coldwell Banker.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It was on the screen, but it won't work. So I don't know if they've been reset or what.
All right, we'll keep trying. Like I said, worst case scenario is you can always reset your password.
Okay.
Into it that way.
I'll just do that.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is what our home screen looks like inside of Moxi presentations. And you'll see here that I've got a couple that I have done for clients myself. So that's what these are. And I'm going to get into one of those in a minute. And then I've got two that I have made what I call master copies of. And I'll give you the details on why I have those here. Here as we get into it. But first things first, I wanted to show you. So I created this presentation for Andy Elliott about, gosh, it's probably been 4 weeks now. So I got this done, sent it to him, and I want to show y'all on the front end what the seller, potential seller, is going to get in their email and what this looks like. So they click on their email. You see our face here. This is the first page of the presentation, and then they scroll down and they go to view seller presentation. So just so you guys know how nice this looks when your client is looking at it, if you send it to them in email. Here we go. So this comes up, scroll down, and he's just going to start to go through the different pages. And I will say this does take a while to load typically, so that's probably a little bit of a frustration, but just know that it's probably not your computer. It just is a big file, so it takes a while. But these are all the different pages that I have, and he's going to scroll through here and yada, yada. So that's what they get on their end. And just so you guys see down here in the bottom right-hand corner, he would have the option of, if he didn't want to read all my fluff on the first few pages, he would click these 3 bars and it's going to show him all the different pages over here. So if like he wants to just jump immediately to what I think his house is worth, he can just click straight to that page. He doesn't want to go through all the rest of it. And then, so it's cool. It's easy for them to navigate. They don't have to go page by page. They can go straight to wherever they want. But just so you guys know, I wanted you to see what they're seeing when you email a copy of the presentation to them. So any questions on that? Pretty self-explanatory. All right, so get out of that, get out of this, and we're gonna go back here. All right, so everybody following along with me right now, do you all see this create new over here?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So imagine that I don't have those 4 different presentations on my screen right now. If you have not done one yet, you're going to have a blank screen. So what I want you to do is you're going to go and you're going to click create new, and you'll see that we actually have quite a few different presentations that we can do besides just a listing presentation for a seller. We're not going to get into these today, but if you actually had, say, 8 homes, show a buyer, you could do this, and it's essentially going to be the same thing, and it's a really cool presentation that they can see. You can also create newsletters and marketing pieces in here. So I will probably have a follow-up, like a 201 presentation at some point, and go through some of these other things. But for our purposes today, we're going to click on seller. So that's the presentation that we want. Now my Zoom screen's all over the place, so let me get to the bottom here. All right, so continue. Now, this hopefully is going to be super easy for everybody. There is a default presentation that comes up that is already a presentation that is built for you. So it has 46 pages. We're going to go with default.
And Michelle, the key thing on that
Yes,
default
sir.
brokerage presentation, as you can see, it's showing the first page. It's black, white lettering. That is made to go in those hardbound books that are in each of your offices, so you can bind them into that little portfolio.
Yes.
You create your own, then you have to figure out, how do I get it to fit in the window? This default brokerage template is set up with that page so it works for you.
Right, exactly. Yes. I was going to go a little bit too once they have the option to print it and what that's going to look like. So yeah, thank you for that. All right, so next page, continue. And I am just going to name this. If you were doing this right now, you would put the client's name, the property address, whatever you want to do there. But we are just going to put today's date for our purposes. See, you see right here, we have RealTracs because I am a member of RealTracs. But if you are a Jackson agent, this is going to give you, and Tom, what is their MLS? Can't think of it off the top of my head, but they have a different MLS than we do in Jackson.
CWTAR.
Okay, so if you're a Jackson agent, yours is not going to say RealTracs. It's going to have your MLS. So now we go to create. And again, this will take just a minute for it to load, so don't panic if you don't see anything right away, but here's our scrolling circle. All right, so again, this is where your potential client's name or the property address would go. Now, this is kind of a cool thing. So I'm going to use my test property for an example. If the house that you're doing the presentation on has been in the MLS before, may even be on there right now, but if it has been in there at any point in time, go into RealTracs, and this is how you can research. And some of this is going to be very elementary, but some of you I'm sure don't know how to do this. So we're gonna go back to the basics here. We're going to go to residential, and what I'm going to do, just because we want to see the whole history of that address, is I'm going to hit check all these pop up, and my address is 305 Oakcrest. It's in Hermitage. So when I put this in and I hit search, I'm going to see if that property ever been on the MLS. All right, so over here, we see that it has in fact been, so I'm going to take the most recent one. And here is the old MLS number. So if you have a property that does pop up as history in the MLS, you would copy the MLS number, and then you're going to put it over here in your presentation.
But you have to put RTC first.
Yes, thank you. All your email addresses in there. Okay, let's try that again. Did y'all hear Pete? RTC. That's a Real Tracks tagline. I'm not sure what it would be for Jackson, honestly. But I can find that out for you. If you have any trouble with that, let me know. So again, we're going to go back here. We're going to copy that number. Not saying not found. Let me get ours. Bear with me. Sometimes in these different applications, they're different. I don't know why it's doing that. Pete, do you know?
No, let me see.
All right, so if this were working properly, and it did it before, so I don't know why that's not coming up, but if you copy that old MLS number, it will auto-populate a lot of the property's information. Whatever has been plugged into the previous listing, it would pop up for you, the bedrooms, the living square footage, the year built. So what's that?
Oh, just clearing my throat.
Oh, gotcha.
Sorry.
So if that worked, great, it would pre-populate. I don't know why it didn't, but it's okay, because if we don't have it, then this is what you're going to do. Once you fill out the property address here, and any information that you already know, go ahead and plug it in. If it hasn't been in the MLS previously, you can go to your tax data within Real Tracks, plug in as much as you know. For instance, like I know that this house has 3 bedrooms and 2 full baths. I know it's somewhere around 2,200 square feet. Somebody's raising their hand. Do you have a question?
I was going to let you know that whenever because I had an issue pulling in the MLS on one that I did the other day, I did call and they fixed it immediately. Okay. So yeah, the help feature was really nice. So
okay, good. That's very good to hear. All right, perfect. So Ashley, right? Okay. Yeah, that's a great point. When you struggle with any of this, see down here in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a help option. And you can click on that and it'll take you to a help desk chat that might be able to help you pretty quickly. But as much information as you can get here, this is what you want to fill out. And while I'm thinking about it, over here, if you were able to go to the subject property and take a picture, say, of the front of the house, if you just did a drive-by, or if you find an old picture on the web, I know in Davidson County, you can go to the property assessor's website and they'll have a picture of the property. So if you can get a picture of the actual house, you can save it to your computer, browse here, just like you would upload an image anywhere else. And then this nice sofa is going to disappear and the actual picture of the property is then going to go into your presentation. So that's kind of a nice feature too, if you can get that, because it makes it obviously much more personalized to the potential client. So now let's go back here, fill out some of this information. Obviously, your primary items that you want to get filled out are your bedroom and bathroom count, your square footage. Some of these are, they're helpful. Again, if you can get something like, there's a 2-car attached garage, great. You could fireplace, gas fireplace, there's a basement, any of that. Now here, if I wanted to say home needs bathroom, no, actually, let me do it this way. If home were to have updated kitchen and bathrooms, the suggested list price could increase, let's say $30,000. So
Michelle, just to let you know,
Uh-huh.
I went into what you're into right now, and I pulled up a property and I did put RTC in front of it in the MLS number, and it did work. Just so
okay.
that everybody knows that it does work. But when you're doing a presentation like Michelle, that's when it doesn't work.
Of course, thank you. Yes, exactly. Yeah, technology issues, but yeah, it works great when it works. It's awesome because it pre-populates for you. All right, so if you happen to have, if the property were on the market currently, let's say you're doing this and a house has been sitting on the market for 3 weeks at this point, and sellers trying to figure out why that's the case. You could put the active MLS number in here. You could put what it's currently listed for and how many days it's been on the market, and then it's going to populate that information that they can see in their CMA when we get to that. But right now, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna plug in here. I know that I am going to suggest that the price of this home is going to be $430,000. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in there right now. But we'll come back to that. So now this next page, what's going to come up is we've got my address in here. And what's awesome about this is that basically it geo tracks where the address is. And now it's got all these comparables close by that have come up. So we've got the map option over here, and we've got it in list form. So you see right here that it's pulled in 43 potential listings. So what I want to do now is I need to narrow that down because of course it's not going to be 43 listings. So I'm going to go to filters, and right here is something that I would change. So remember, we've got 2,200 square feet in there for our subject property. So this is defaulting to go down to 2,000 and then 2,400. General rule of thumb, and you guys tell me if you do anything different, but as far as a square footage percentage different, I know appraisers like to go no lower than 15% of the subject property square footage and then no higher than 15%. So that's where you would plug this in. And for instance, we wouldn't want a house that was 1,200 square feet, or we wouldn't want a house here that was 3,500 square feet. We're not trying to compare those. So any way you can narrow it down is what we're trying to do here. In this case, our house was built in 1988. So I don't want anything that's a new construction. So I could narrow it down there. Let's say I narrow it down to 2010. And I'm going to hit apply. So now that's brought us down to 32 listings. That's still probably too many for me. So let's go to bedroom and bath count. And some of this stuff I'm just telling you guys because I know you have trouble sometimes figuring out, all right, what is a true comparable and what's not. So just general rule of thumb, if you have a 3-bedroom or higher property, you don't ever want to compare that property to something with 2 bedrooms. Like you always want to go up to at least 3. So I usually do the 3 to 4 range, and then bathroom count. If something has 2 bathrooms, we really don't want to compare it to 1 if we can possibly avoid it. So we'll just do 2 to 3 in this case. Hit apply. Now we've gone down to 30. All right, so we've still got quite a few. Now,
I use the draw option on this part just to get the houses that are closest to mine.
okay. Yeah, hang on. I'll get this Zoom screen off of my screen. All right, now before we go back to what Pete said about the drawing tool, right here where it says sort and distance. You can click on this button right here. And a couple of different things I would narrow this down to. I'm not too worried about these things right here, but I might be concerned with getting the closest square footage that I can, or the closest distance. Those are the two that I would probably focus in on pretty close. Pete said you can use a drawing tool. So like, for instance, I know this area pretty well. So I know that I could take the draw tool and instead of, let me zoom back out. So this is a very wide brush of the 25 listings that they've popped up for us. Well, I know when I scroll in that these are more of the comparables that I want because they're similar in age, they're similar builds. I don't want something that's over kind of a main drag here, like a main street. I don't want to go over here because I know that those are not going to be similar homes to here. And some of that really just has to do with knowing your neighborhood well. But if you don't know the neighborhood that well, then that's where we're really going to narrow down on, we want to get close to our distance here. And bedroom and bathroom count. So any questions on that so far? And it's very interactive and you can really do it how you want to do it. Okay, good. All right, and then we scroll down here a little bit and you can see you've got all different statuses on here. You've got sold, you've got actives, you've got pendings, you've even got off markets. So again, I'm going to go here to distance and I'm going to, let's say we're going to change it to square footage. All right, so over here, that's where you're going to see that. We're all in the range of mine very closely. So we're still at 25 listings, right? So how do we start to narrow down what is going to most match our subject property? So this is what's really cool about this is you can either click here on the line or, and see when I do this, when I highlight this property over on the map, see where it says 425, that's that same property. So you can click on it on the bar view or you can click on it on the map view. And if I click on there, look at what it does. It opens up, pulling in from the MLS feed, all of the features of the property. And not only that, and we see what it sold for, see the bedroom bath count, but I can scroll directly here. I don't have to hop over to the MLS to pull up that property, start to look through it, but this is where we see what the condition of the home is. So that's going to be really helpful when it comes to comparing the house we're looking at to these houses that have sold or active, because we know they're not all going to be in the same condition, right? So we're also trying to compare to not only what the current condition is, but say in my instance, this house needs a lot of cosmetic updating done. So I can look at what his price is, the way that the house is currently, but then I'm also going to tell him, if you put those $30,000 worth of upgrades in, this is what it's then going to be worth. So that's where we're going to look at the range. But again, you can go through any of these and pull them up one by one, and then we're going to start to narrow them down from here. So questions so far on that before I show you how to narrow them down? All right, here. So bear with me on. I'm covering everything here. All right. Okay, so now I want to start narrowing my comps down. So first of all, I'm going to zoom in on the map a little bit more. And then you're going to go through here, and for our purposes and for time purposes, I'm going to remove some that I know that I don't want in the listing. I'm not counting them as comparables. So if they're clicked, they're going to be a comparable. If they're not clicked, they're going to come off and not be. All right. So now I have got some that I want to use that I feel like are good comps, and you see over here on the map which ones I'm going to end up using. All right, now we hit continue. All right, so those of you who love data, which I do, this is really, really cool. So we've now got 16, 18 properties that we're looking at. And actually, this is probably quite a few more than what we're going to have in most areas, because there's not a whole lot of comps out there, right? So kind of lucky here. And really, I would narrow this down even more. But again, for our purposes, what this has now done is it's narrowed it down to 18 different properties, 2 for sale, 6 pending, and 10 that have sold. So a couple different ways we can do this in terms of how we want it in the presentation. We can put the order by active to sold, sold to active, the prices, days on the market. So however you want to do it there. My preference, I believe, is what I have is I go to sold to active. We're going to narrow that down. Again, this is our subject property here. And then over here, it's giving you lows, highs, and then averages, and breaks them down into a different column. So you've got a couple of different ways that your properties are sorted. And then now what it's done is it has sorted the solds. So what I would do at this point, and we see these are very, very recent comps, so I definitely want to keep those in there. But if we were to go back like this one, for instance, this one sold in October. So that's what, 5-6 months ago at this point. I'm not going to use this as a relevant comp because it's just not up to date because the market is changing so quickly. So I would then take that one out. Again, if y'all have questions at any point, let me know. Pete, what are you doing with yours right now, or anybody else that's doing that is lucky enough to have listings? I'm not going back for more than 3 months at the absolute most.
Yeah, I go 3 months, and also I do the same thing. I put solds first, because when you're talking to a potential client, that is what the appraisers are going to look at. They're not going to look at what's on the market. They're going to look at what's sold. So the reason why we're also putting the active ones on there, because we're seeing what they're pushing the market to. So if you have somebody that really has a nice updated house, we might be able to push as well. But if we see someone that needs a lot of work, that's a good indication there. Say, listen, this is what they're going to be looking at. We can't push the market because we already know that we went $30,000. Do you want to spend the $30,000, or would you rather just price this right and get it sold? So I do exactly that way.
Okay, cool. And then, so you guys can see this too, like this house right here, it's sold in November, but it was listed at the end of September. So I'm not going to use this either, because it's, again, what was going on at the end of September is not what's going on April the 8th. So I'm narrowing this down as much as I can. And also we need to make sure that we're the most recently updated, because we don't want our price per square foot to get skewed either. This one I would maybe leave in for now. This one's okay. This one, yeah.
And Michelle, they could have done that in the filter as well, correct? If they would have put in a sold date.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Lots of different ways you can do it for sure. This one I'm going to take out just because I know that neighborhood is not as great. So then we bump down to pendings, and to Pete's point, so we've shown them, if we have it this way, we've shown the sellers what the houses have actually sold for, which is what the appraisers are going to look at. But now we also have to keep in mind that, again, people are pushing their list prices, and that also has to do with the severe lack of inventory, which I'll also go over. But so here we are with the actives. Even this one, again, listed in November. Don't know why it hasn't closed. Maybe they haven't closed it out in MLS, but probably gonna take that one out. Anyway, we're just trying to.
Michelle, would you say that this is an opportunity too, when you see that they're pushing the market, to maybe give that agent a call and ask them, I know you can't tell me the price, but you know, did you get close to list? And they may just say, we got way over list.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah,
you're
great
preparing
point.
this information for your seller. So they need to make that decision. Do we push it the way they pushed it based on the information we have?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a huge, huge point in how to do your due diligence as an agent as well. Always call that listing agent and see what kind of information you can get from them. That's super helpful. This one right here, I know just based on the price per square foot, I can eliminate that. I don't know why it's 147, but it's definitely not something I want in my presentation, so I'm taking that off. This one even right here would be questionable. So y'all see this just while I'm going through it, see this price per square foot, and you've got quite a bit of a range here. So now we're going to hit continue, go to the next page. And Pete wanted me to make sure that I pointed this out to you guys, which is also what I do. So here we go. We now have this range over here, right? We've got solds anywhere from 406 to 470. So how do we narrow this down even more? How do we get our subject property price? Probably more for a CMA class, but be helpful here. I'm sure you guys want to know how I would come up with something here. So still got 13. We've got quite a range. So now what? Do we give them one price, suggested list price, and this number right here coming from this? So price based on average sales, average price of sold comparable properties. So all those that are in red, this is what the average is. So based on our square footage at 192 a foot, that's what, no, excuse me, that's not right. This is the average of the closed comps. Average square foot of sold comparable properties is 192. So if we take ours at 2,200 times 192, it would get you to 423. But this right here is defaulting to give the price of what the average of all of the solds are. So for me right now, I don't know that I necessarily would recommend that my seller price it at 430. You've seen that we're all over the board here between 406 and 470. So what we can do is we can click this create a range tab. So because I know that his has not been updated, I'm probably going to start it around 415 is the minimum that I think he's going to get. But then I also don't think he's going to be in that 470 range, because those have, if we go and look through the pictures, I'm going to see that they've got updated kitchens and baths. So if he doesn't want to do any work on the front end, let's say I'm going to tell him 430. So this is going to be, that's going to be my range that I'm going to give my seller when I'm having my talk with him. So instead of that 431 price, which you can certainly do it that way, but again, right now, I think it's almost better to give a range. Pete, I know that's what you do too, is you give an actual range instead of that.
Do either use the percentage, put in say 5%, like if you would have done that and just said 5%, it would come up with numbers 401 to 443.
Yep. So can anybody think, if I've got a range here, let me go back to mine, 415 to 430, what would be, when I'm presenting this to my seller and I give them a range, what do you think their first question is going to be?
It's probably going to be a statement. Let's go the high number.
Thank you. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
You ever think anybody's going to want to go with the low end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, me and you had this talk. The reason for the range, mainly right now in our market is, where Michelle is, she will go in and do, go into the house, take a look at it and come back to the house and then come back and give them a price. Well, in Nashville and most of Williamson County, you can't. You already have somebody else that's gonna be right behind you. So it's better if you did not have any eyes on this, you do the best you can. And this kind of helps you out when you have your range, because you're going to actually put in some houses that have been redone. And you're also going to put in some houses that have not been redone. You're going to show them the difference of those prices and say, that's why we have a range here. I didn't see your house But as you can see, we can't go to 430 because this person has a brand new kitchen. This person has brand new this. So if you're really looking to get the top dollar for your house, we need to update it just like the comparable property.
If you walk in there with a single price or a very tight range and you walk in and it's a fixer upper and it smells like cat pee, then you're going to be wishing you didn't put that high price on there. This gives you the flexibility to say, hey, I walked in here knowing it could be a $400,000 house versus a $475,000 house, you know.
And that's the thing, you can't know that until you actually go in it, right? So for me, what Pete was saying is normally I get the opportunity to, if I can, this is ideally what I do. If somebody says, hey, I am interested in you selling my house, but I don't know what it's worth, what do we do? So what I will, if I can make it happen, which normally it does work for me, but in some markets, like Pete said, it's just too fast, you can't do it. But I will go and I will have what I call a pre-listing packet, which I'll show you guys that in a minute. I'll bring that with me, but I'm not going to give the seller a price at that point because I haven't seen the house. I don't know what to truly compare it to. So if you get the opportunity to go the first time, because that's what I say, I'd really like to come and walk through your property. Here are a couple times I'm available. Obviously try and tell them today, tomorrow, you want to get in there as quick as you can, but hey, I'd really love to come do a walkthrough. You tell me about the updates you've done, yada, yada. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back the next day and I'm going to truly be able to narrow in that range of where I think we can be based on what the others have sold around me. So does that make sense that if you can make that happen, you don't necessarily want to give a seller a price right away before you've even seen the house, because you just don't know. Like Tom said, I mean, you could go in there and it smells like cat pee. Well, you're never going to know that. A seller's not going to tell you that until you get in there.
The seller's not going to know that.
Yeah, exactly. Their nose isn't going to smell it. But
Yeah.
if you get the opportunity, it's always obviously a huge advantage if you can get in there early. But to that point, we'll come back to it. But what's really cool about this presentation too, is if you come with your iPad, you show up with your iPad or whatever you have, you can change these on the fly. Like if I go back to these listings and I know that it's, you know, it's got this upgrade that I wasn't expecting, then I can take out those lower end properties while I'm there with them. And the reverse is true too. If it doesn't look that great or it smells like cat, then you can take out the higher end properties, and then you're really going to be able to right then narrow down the price when you're with them. So this is very, very interactive.
Hey, Michelle, can I say
Yes,
something
sir.
just real quickly?
Yeah, of course.
You know, one thing that I think it's interesting. Now you can tell me no, it's fine. Exactly. But one thing that I think is interesting about this, everybody's got a little bit of a different slant. Pete likes to get it right then and there. You like the two-step process. There's no magic or right or wrong. Well, there might be a wrong, but I mean, there's not a magical one way works every single time. So everyone, when you go in to do a listing or something like that, you've got to use some of your own discretion and understanding. Right now, you know, we could sit with Pete and Michelle with their two different methods of going in and getting it right then versus another time. And in a normal market, we could debate that. In this market, it may be different in one area of Nashville versus another one. This market is different than any market you may ever work in. You know, if you have a 10, 15, 20-year career, we may be in a particular market that's going to last 3 or 4 years. The difference in a normal market and our market now is, even back when you were showing active listings versus solds, appraisals, an appraiser is only going to look at the solds, the actual sold, closed. But guess what? In this marketplace, what that property sells for and what it will appraise for may be what? 2 different things. It may sell for more than that. So in this market, that listing price or what's active on the market may be more important than what they've actually closed for, because that's what your competition is in that marketplace. So it's a little bit different, but don't be afraid to give your opinion and your advice when you go in there. Another thing, we're talking about this Moxi Present. everyone that's in the process of selling their house is talking to probably 100 different people. They're telling them, do this, do that. If you go in and you look professional and your presentation looks spot on, and you've got all the data and all these things, which is really the purpose of what we're doing, the questions about your credibility become less and less, because your credibility is based upon the presentation, which this is, that you present. So you're going to have less issues if you learn how to present something like this in a very clear, concise manner. Be self-assured, be confident when you go in. They'll question it less. If you go in without something like this, you'll find you'll get a lot more questions, and that listing is a lot more difficult to obtain. Anyway, just my food for thought is that everything is different, and use something that looks professional when you go in to make sure that you get it and not your competitor.
Yes, exactly. And to that point, which takes us to the next page, are the different pages of the presentation. You're going to have some people that are going to be the type of personality that they don't want to go through. They want you to go through 46 pages worth of stuff. They want to know what their bottom line number is. Can y'all hear me saying I have connectivity issues? Okay, cool. But yeah, so right now we've got 46 pages. Somebody might want to sit and they're very analytical and they want to go through every single page, or they might not. And you need to be able to be flexible based on your seller's personality, how the conversation is going. You know, if you need to hop through it, like sometimes you just got to go faster. So it's a learning curve, you know, you learn as you do it. But all of your clients are going to be different too. So your pace of your presentation, the information that you share with them, it's not always going to be the same either. So don't feel like just because you've got, all right, I've got 46 pages in my presentation, I got to go through all 46, because you're going to lose some of them, you know, you just are. But that's another thing. Again, you learn as you practice. So the more opportunities you get, the more you can get better at it and really tailor this to your presentation. So that being said, we're now in our 46 pages. So again, this is what defaults to. So you've got all these different tabs down here. For instance, first few pages are going to talk about Coldwell Banker Barnes. We're going to have the first few are going to be on Barnes and our company. So you're going to do that. The next few are going to start to jump down to Coldwell Banker and what Coldwell Banker as a brand offers that others don't. Again, I'm not crazy that these numbers are 2020. So again, you might want to take some of these pages out. I'll show you guys how I do that. Some of these I don't want to do because again, we're in 2022 now. You know, numbers probably aren't going to be that much different, but again.
And you can add pages to this. You can delete
I'm gonna show 'em.
pages. Yeah, and these templates we can edit to update as well.
Yep, exactly. So all different things in here about Coldwell Banker Barnes, about Coldwell Banker. I like a lot of these pages that have to do with Coldwell Banker being so internet heavy with their presence. That's a huge thing. But it's got some really, really good slides in here that help you with things like, for instance, I've got all these pages that are headings page of different sections, but let me see which one it is. These are just really, really good. Not that one. Shows our social media pages, a bit of a presence we have there. There's all kinds of different things about Coldwell Banker. Now, if we go down here and we get a little bit further into the meat and potatoes of what you're going to bring to the table, this is why this presentation helps so much, because these are resources that any of us can have at our disposal, no matter what our level is. But for instance, I really like these over here. They give you they give your seller potential hits on how to stage your home, how to get it ready to come to market. So it gives them those type of tools, all kinds of different things. And then this is where we really come into the good stuff, I think. Sorry, it's taking so long to load. My connection. All right, right here. So this is something you're going to have already built into your presentation that I would absolutely leave in. So this says up at the top how important it is for them to price their home correctly. You're going to work together. At the end of the day, it's going to be the seller's choice what they want to list it at, but buyer will set the sales price. If you price your home too high, you'll miss out on potential buyers. Pricing your property at fair market value from the start will generate the most activity from real estate agents and home buyers. And we're trying to attract as many people as we can. So this chart is awesome. Something really good to show your potential sellers that, all right, if you price it at the current market value, what you as the agent are recommending to them, they're going to capture 95% of buyers out there looking at the property. And then it shows you, all right, if they go up and up and up, their buyer pool that they're going to appeal to goes dramatically down. And then as we know, especially in our market right now, the longer that property sits on the market, the more people are going to start to want to know what's wrong with it. This is a great stat. Largest number of potential buyers will view a newly listed home within the first 14 days on the market. Number will decrease as the days on the market increases. So again, this is a great one to show you that, hey, it's super important for us to not only price our property right, but to have photos, to have video tours, to have all of our marketing pieces in place the day we hit market, because if it gets to 14 days, look at how many people stop looking at it. All right, so that's a good one. And then just quite a few different ones. But what I want to show you guys now is over here on the left-hand side, any of these pages, like if I don't want this one, I would go and remove it, and then it takes it away. If I want to rearrange the order, I'm going to click on that tab, and I'm just going to hold my mouse down and I'm going to drag it up to where I want it. So super easy there. I have a lot of different ways we can edit this ourselves. And then now here are a couple of really, really cool things, how you can make this your own. So you've got two different options if you want to add something that's not already in there. There's default pages. If you're a global luxury agent, there are different presentation pieces you can do there. So that's already plugged in there for you. Brokerage pages, most of these we already have, but for instance, if this page that says add, that's not in my presentation. So if I wanted to click on that and see what it looks like, and I thought that would be something good to add my presentation, I could hit add and pop it back in there. So that's that. Now, what's really cool is go out of that. These are pages that I have created myself that I want to add into my presentation. So a couple different cool things here. Like I have transferred some of my testimonials into my presentation. So I went to my website, I took a screenshot, I edited this where it fits into a nice page, converted it to a PDF, and now it's in my presentation. So I've got two different pages of testimonials in there that I've added. Have also added our free home warranty coverage with the listing. So this is something, and if you're not telling your sellers about this right now, or your potential sellers, you definitely need to be, because it's a huge benefit to us and it sets us apart from a lot of different people, that our warranty coverage, we can enroll new listings in a 210 home warranty, and it's free to the seller for the life of the listing. So pop that in there. And then another thing that's really cool is I have done you can also add video. So this is one of my video walkthroughs that Household Photography produced for me. This was on my last listing, and it goes to Vimeo. If you've got a YouTube video, pop it right in there. And how you do that, very quickly here. Go to add page, create new, and then if you have it in a PDF form, I'm going to show you two different things. These are real track stats. So this is another page I like to go in my presentation. I have narrowed it down to the zip code of Hermitage. If anybody wants me to show them where I got to this, let me know. But I click here like I'm going to print it, and I go over here and save as a PDF. Now I'm going to save as a PDF for me. But March 2022, saving to my desktop. Back here, upload PDF page. Choose file. Open. There it is. Upload. All right. Now it's over here in my presentation. Obviously, I don't want it as my second page, but look how cool that is. So I've just added this to my presentation. I want to add that video I just showed you. You go to build page. So you've got this option too, that you can go to a blank template here. Hit create. And then look at what you can do here. You can add any sort of text. You can add an image. You can add video. So I want the video. Here is another one that I had. I've gone to YouTube. So copy the video link. And go back here. Click on that URL. Hit paste. Hit add. Boom. There it is. So now we go back here. Oh, wait, there we go. It's prompting me to save it. I think a tornado is coming outside, by the way, here in Old Hickory, just FYI. Ask there. All right, I'm looking for it. See it? Figure out where that went. Those didn't save. They should go in there automatically. Go back here.
Oh my Lord.
That's not it. All right, y'all see something I'm missing or that? Oh, save. There we go. Sorry, upper right hand corner. That's not it either. I don't think that's it. It is. All right, so are y'all getting the point? I'm going to show you the actual like finished copy to show you how that, that happens. I got this one in, but not getting my video to save. All right, any questions on this right now? Again, I'm going to show you what the finished product looks like here in a minute, but you got to get around and play with it and make it your own.
You email this the day before, and then so he can see the videos and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, here's one more portion that I want to show you guys, and this is something else that could set you apart in your presentation. On your estimate right here, there's an estimated net proceeds tab. So most of the time sellers are going to want to know, all right, what's my bottom line? I want to net the most amount for my property as I can. That's always the most important thing for them. So And this is where you're going to fill in, all right, let's say we think it's going to sell for $430,000. If we know that they've got a balance on their mortgage and they share that with you, you can put it in there. Your brokerage fees. Don't anybody be putting like 2% in there. FYI. It's a whole nother conversation we're going to have later in the month about how you combat the, well, you need to, everybody else is charging 1% right now. All right, escrow fee, like I know title company charges about $500 to coordinate the transaction. You could put your property taxes in here. Just say 2,000 there. So this is where anything you know that the seller is going to be responsible for as far as costs go during the transaction, this is where you would put this. Again, right now, we're not having to do very much seller paying title, but if we get back to those days, or if you do get lucky, you could put that there. So that would break down. And then our broker service fee, this is where I put the $299 here. If a seller were paying for any closing costs for the buyer, you'd put that there. And you're going to hit save down here at the bottom. Continue. Estimate. Estimated proceeds. And then pages. Scroll down here to the bottom and on the left. That's what it's supposed to. There we go. Predicted sales price of $430. After all their fees, their net proceeds are going to be $301,000. And then again, it shows them what all those fees are that they'll be responsible for. So definitely highlight that with them. I know of an agent in my office who was up against a couple of other agents. She did not have a net proceeds sheet in her presentation, and one of the other agents did, and that was the only reason why they went with the other person. So now she always includes a net proceeds sheet. All right, any questions on that? All right, so, oh, Steve Outlaw raised his hand. Steve.
Yeah, I was just curious. Did you say you would email this to them before your listing presentation?
Yes, so let me show you this to answer that question. Here's what I do. So, all right, so now we've got the presentation the way we want it. Go back here to subject property, go to home. And then here is the one that we've just created. Okay, so now it's on my dashboard. So I'm ready to send this to the potential seller. Gotten his email address. Click on these three little dots right there, hit email.
You know what that's called, Michelle?
No, I don't.
It's a kebab.
That's what that means? Okay.
Click on the kebab.
Kebab. Okay, that makes sense.
We got the
I like
hamburger on the other side.
Hamburger, yeah. I could go with our hamburger. I did know that one. All right, so Steve, to your point and to anybody else's, here's how you actually send the email. So if you have this box clicked right here, it's going to give the version that I showed you at the very beginning where they can scroll page by page, or you can also send it in a PDF form as well. So of course you put their name in there, you put the subject, then you can create a little greeting there. And then I would always send a copy to myself as well. You have that, should be default checked, but I always like to see a copy of what people are getting. So, but yes, I definitely would send two different things. So we're going to switch topics a little bit here in terms of how I have my things set up for me. So what I've done is I've created what I'm calling a master copy of a pre-listing presentation. And then I've got a master copy that includes the CMA of the actual home. So for instance, if I click on this, the pre-listing, what's going to be different about the other one is it does not have all of those pricing pages that I showed you. I'll just wrong thing. So let's go back to the pencil. And that's going to open up the presentation. And you see right here that I've narrowed it down from the default of 46 pages. My presentation is 35 pages. So again, manipulate it the way that you want to manipulate it. But if I go here in this pre-listing packet, I don't have any of the pricing stuff in here. So haven't gotten to that point yet. Actually, take that back. This is what I will be using it for, but I wanted to show you guys this. Right now, it is in there. Those marketing pages are in there, but for my purposes, to have a blank slate that I can just copy and paste moving forward, here's what I'm going to do. When I talked about removing pages, like I don't want a few of these, so I'm going to take them out. And then when I'm sending that copy of the pre-listing packet of just my services. So this is what I'm going to offer to you, something that looks great. They can start to look through it before you've had the actual face-to-face conversation with them. So that's what this purpose is for, is to have that blank slate that I can just copy and paste from here on out. So say I get Mr. Smith tomorrow that I want to give a pre-listing packet to, then all I have to do is again, click on the kebab, hit duplicate. Then I'm going to have the same thing pop up down here, and I just rename it to the actual, actually you have to click on it here. Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all, getting ahead of myself. Click on the pencil. And then this is now going to be for Mr. Smith, and that's where I change his name. If I want anything pertinent for him, then that's where this is now going to go. But I still have my original that I can just copy and paste from. Same thing with this master copy with CMA. So that's going to be where when I'm ready to dive into the comparables and have that pricing information, these are the pages that I want in there. And again, I would just duplicate it. So when I wanted to create Mr. Andy Elliott specific to his home, again, I just went here, hit duplicate, this popped up, and then I started typing in the actual properties information. So my suggestion for everybody to do is get in here, create your master copy of your own, get the slides in there that you want to have for every single person. Do this one, do your pre-listing, and these are going to be contest activities, just FYI. But you get this and you get this, then it's just, again, a matter of you've already got it ready to go, and you're strictly popping in the properties information, and it will go so quick from here on out. Steve, you had another question.
Yeah, it was more from when you're emailing the listing and you send that over with the ranges on it, and you get there and it does smell like cat pee and it looks like crap. I mean, you've already sent kind of an estimate over with the numbers on there, and what are you going to do then?
You don't have the numbers in there.
You don't have.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
No
why
range.
the pre one that you're sending the day before has no range, no nothing.
It was,
and that's
32 pages versus 46 pages.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, and that's what, a lot of our really good agents, that's what they'll do. They'll send a pre-listing one over the day before, sometimes a hard copy, sometimes in the email, and then they'll, print something out the next time. The good thing about that is it gives them the night to look everything over. So if you guys are new on here and you do not know what's on here, you better read it, because that's what you want to do. You want them to read stuff. If they have questions tomorrow when you come, say, listen, I know you're going to be busy, but if you have questions, I'll answer them tomorrow. But tomorrow we'll probably get more of the meat and potatoes of everything, and talk about how I'm going to sell your house. And that's when you're going to concentrate more on your marketing side of it, marketing and pricing and stuff like that. But this, that the pre-listing packet is good, showing how, kind of patting ourselves on the back of how good our company is as well.
And keep in mind too, I'm sorry, I was just going to say real quick, keep in mind too, that we could email this to them or even drop a hard copy off to them, put it on their front porch, whatever. But they very well might not look at it, but if nothing else, it's again showing that step above professionalism that you have. You've already made an effort on the front end before you've even gotten in front of them to talk to them. You've done this nice packet. They may just open the email and go, oh, that's cool, not really look at it. But again, you're setting yourself a step above versus just, oh yeah, hey, I'm Mr. Seller, let's price your house at $500,000 when it's worth $450 and go from there. So go ahead, Tom.
The question came up earlier. Steve was asking, do you email it? Yes, you do. And you had two options. You had a PDF format, and then you had the other format. What's your opinion of the PDF format versus that other format? I know that when I have looked at the presentation online, it appears to try to do some cute things as far as kind of jumping or something as you go along.
Right.
And I think my mind and maybe other people's minds are geared towards documents that you easily scroll through. Sometimes it seems like this has a lot of information on the screen that I can't see as well as I can see in a PDF. And so that's what I was questioning. Which one do you like the best?
Well, I think it is kind of a personal preference, but I will say that let's just do this because honestly, I don't even know what this looks like. But I think the big difference would be when you send the presentation in the non-PDF form, the one where they can scroll through it, is remember at the very bottom, it had the option with the 3 lines that they could click on that and then they could jump direct, like it brings up a table of contents for them essentially, and it brings them directly to the pages that they feel are most relevant.
Yes.
Where in the PDF, they're just going to have to scroll through those
Scroll till they
35
see
pages.
it. Okay.
What about the video? If you put the video on, will it still post on the bottom of a PDF version of it or no?
Just email it to yourself, right?
Yep, you can get in there and look. But to that point, in the original one, we know for sure, and I'll show you guys this, like I don't know how this stuff works, but it's awesome because they can click on that video and the video will play. All right, so let's see. All right, print friendly version.
So Michelle, the presentation can actually go over as a video also?
You mean the whole, you mean the whole thing?
That's what I'm asking.
No, I was talking about the video of like the walkthrough for a property.
Okay. Yeah, I misunderstood.
Probably, yes. Now, I mean, but Patty, to your point, you absolutely could get on Zoom or FaceTime with your seller if you're not able to do it in person for whatever reason. You absolutely could do this exact thing that I'm doing here with them. And you go through, page by page, showing them your computer screen virtually. You absolutely could do that. Sometimes that might even be more convenient for everybody.
To what Tom was talking about the PDF version versus the other version. The other version, probably you get a closer proximity to what you're going to actually present, but it's knowing your customer and your client too, if you know a little bit about them. For me, you send me the PDF, that's really what I want. I'm just going to scroll down through there really quickly. And there's a lot of people, if you're dealing with customers or clients that are in their 60s or maybe even 70s, the PDF is probably going to be better because they may know how to scroll down through there, but they may not know how to click on to watch the video and this and that. And there. So you may be doing something that's great, but they're not going to utilize it. But the most important thing, I think, is what I think Steve talked about, whether to email it. And I think you mentioned you could deliver a hard copy, you could email it. I also like, Michelle, what you had in your pre-listing thing that's already done. So the second you talk to them, you could ship that on over there because it's nothing specific about the property. It's just about you and the company, just some general things. And when you get there to list the property, if you've already touched them 3 times with whether it's delivered, whether it's emailed, whatever that it is, and your competitor, the first time they're touching them is when they walk in the door,
Mhm.
You're a step ahead, I think.
And the nice thing about the PDF is that on here versus the other format pretty much goes full screen on you.
Yeah.
And you can only see so much. Whereas if you send in this format, they have the buttons at the top of the screen where you see 100%. They can do plus or minus to see all the information at one time. They have flexibility on viewing the information.
Right.
I think that the other one's pretty, kind of jumps along, it kind of looks smooth and stuff like that, but doesn't give them as much viewing flexibility.
The good thing is though, you get options. You'll decide what
Exactly.
works best for you in whatever that you do. Talking about
Exactly.
delivering it, hand delivering a thing. I've known agents before that had the hardbound presentation and actually did an overnight UPS, so it's delivered to them, not just handed over, put on. I mean, those type of things are little things that every agent's going to do a little bit differently, but the main thing is to touch them as many times as possible so that you have a greater percentage opportunity to get that listing as opposed to somebody that may just go over there with a much less visual type of a presentation and hasn't touched them except for when they walk in the door. Your head.
So
I don't like it when you say touching your customers. I don't know. It just doesn't work these days.
No, it doesn't. We know what that means though. But if we back in here, when we do go to email the presentation, and if you click both boxes, it looks like what happens when they get the email is they've got the option to open it up in either form in the email. So they can click here and they'll get the scroll down version, or they'll get the printer friendly version PDF. And they can click that, and then it's got both of them are in there. So whatever their preference is, because to me, if I'm opening this PDF, this is driving me nuts having to just go page by page, where I love this option where I just, I like the fact that I could go down here and click and pull up the table of contents and go to where I want to go.
Yes.
So here's the sample video tour. So this is what, say the client has pulled this up. So I've put that video tour in there, and then boom, it plays right to them.
Did you look to see how that worked in the PDF, Michelle?
I couldn't find what page it was on the PDF. Like I could jump on the other one.
It'll be in the same place. So if it was near the bottom or.
I know, page 36, supposed to be.
That one's only got
32, sorry, page 16. Let's see. Nope, totally blank.
So that answered the question there. If you got a video, not going to come across in a PDF.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so there you go. And while Patty's on the screen here, she's one of our agents in the Mount Juliet office. So she's really big on trying to go after expired listings, or once she's about to have a listing come up in Mount Juliet, and she can do circle prospecting around that listing, where she's going to be able to target some other homes in the neighborhood. She's going to be able to take her presentation, print it off, put it in the black hardbound book, which dang it, I don't have one of those with me. If I did, how do you don't have yours with you? Do you? So each of our front desks at your office, you've got a really beautiful black hardbound book that all of these pages will print out. And what Tom mentioned earlier, it's going to fit into this book. It gets sealed into the bound cover, and it's a beautiful printed version of the presentation. So like what Patty's going to do, she's going to take her pre-listing presentation that she's got in here, and she's going to drop off some of these booklets to potential prospects.
No, it's at the office.
Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't think I have that. But so that's another way you can use this to market. And to David's point, however you want to present it, you could have the hardbound copy with you, and you could go through the pages of the book, or you bring your iPad with you and you go through the digital version with them, and you're scrolling down like you're scrolling here. So you've got a couple of different ways to present it as well.
I have to
That's
say,
totally up to
my
you.
client was impressed by that book, Michelle.
Excellent.
Oops.
Yep. So like Patty was able to go, she had the listing appointment. She went the first time, did it how I like to do it, She walked through the house, learned a lot of information that she wouldn't have gathered if she had not been able to be there beforehand to see it. Then she came back. We were really able to nail down the comparables that way, but she had that beautiful hardbound book that she could share with her sellers the first time that she went, and then came back, and then we put in the comparable pages, and then reached a price that way.
Patty, I didn't hear you. Did you say that you did like that book, or your customers did like that book?
They were very impressed.
Well, you know, I was gonna say that it's not even about whether they even look at it or not. If you go to a conference or a convention, do you not pick up everything that you can get in your hand? And half the time when you get back, you don't even look at them, but they're impressive. So you pick them up because they feel good, they look good. And all you're really trying to do is create that feel good, look good with your customer or client so that you get the listing. Whether they ever open the book up or not really makes no difference.
You know what? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I was really watching exactly what you're talking about. He was actually touching it, opening it, and picked out certain pages, and I just let him talk, and that's what I was impressed by, that he was actually opening it right off the bat before we even toured the house, you know.
Excellent. Michelle, I'm going to say one more thing, and I'm going to drop off and shut up, which you probably want me to shut up anyway.
No, we're almost done. I got one other thing to show. That's it.
I know there's a lot of people that are on this video that Michelle and Pete are involved in trying to do these things to make sure everyone's aware of and knows how to use them. If you feel like, if you're one of those people, and hopefully nobody fits into this category, but if you're one of those people who think, man, it looks great and good, but I don't know if I could ever do all that. Let me tell you, every piece of technology that you use right now, I don't care if it's RealTrack's MLS computer or the West Tennessee, Jackson's MLS, everything that you use when it first started, nobody knew how to do it. And everybody thought it was too complicated, too much. Now you use it just like your cell phone. Your cell phone, when it first came out, if that had come out first, nobody would have been able to use all those apps and everything you got on your phone because it just came at you. This is not that complicated, I don't think. It's relatively simple. The key is you've got to get in and do it. Play with it, create some, list your own property, take photos of your own home or your neighbor's home or your kids or your parents or whatever it is. List those, create these things. Once you learn how to do it, it'll be just like using your cell phone. And nothing to it, but you've got to do it.
I want to say one thing.
You can't break it.
Yeah, I want to say one thing. If you do put an old MLS number in here and you create something, please do not double check and make sure that you are in the same school zones, that your that your square footage, that there's no updates. You could find one that may be 5, 8 years old and someone came in and redid something or a new school came up. So this is just for your client to see. So when you're done with your client seeing, don't take that, still do your homework and make sure that the stuff that you're putting on the MLS of the new, if you get the listing, is correct.
Gotcha. And one other thing before we wrap it up, be respectful of y'all's time, is that I've gone back to, this is where I originally emailed the seller, Andy Elliott, on this 305 Oakcrest. So if you see in my inbox here, I sent this to him on March the 13th. If he were to go back into this email today and click on, see, it even says right here, March the 12th, he clicks seller presentation and opens it up this afternoon. Let it load. Presentation is ready. Look at what happens. So what is super cool about this is my comparables that I gave him on March the 13th, some of them may have closed by now, or they might have gone back on the market. They might have gone from pending to active. So that information that I originally had on March the 13th, as far as what was going on with the properties on the MLS, it now is still real time when he goes back in and clicks on that same email, and anything that has happened in the MLS over the last almost month is going to be updated in the presentation. Again, how that works, I have no idea, but that's what makes this stuff super cool, is that if we were to go down to, again, click on the side-by-side comparisons and we pull up some of these comps, these were the original ones I had in my presentation, but let's just say this one, for instance, could have been pending on March the 13th, but if it has since closed, it's now going to show up in the presentation as closed.
That's an awesome feature, because you know what I'm dealing with the listing. That's an awesome feature.
Yeah, like Patty, for instance, her particular seller, you know, she met with him, what, 3-4 weeks ago, probably now at this point, but he knew he wasn't going to be ready to list until the 1st of May. So she had to have that conversation with him. What the price I'm telling you now, the middle of March, is probably not going to be the same in May. So we're going to have to reevaluate this. But that's another thing where this helps, because anything that was pending at the time that helped her price, this is where it now would show as closed, hopefully, if it's closed. And it's going to give you, probably going to give you a different range too on that average. So, and again, he can click on that presentation, whether he gets it today or he looks at it 6 weeks later, click on that comparable, and it's still interactive. Look, it opens up all the information. He can still scroll through the pictures. Super cool. I mean, if somebody's not impressed with this, then I don't know what to tell you, but.
Same thing with Prospect Square.
In Prospect Square. That'll be further down the road, but
yeah, same feature.
Questions. I mean, I think we're right at 11:30, which is where I wanted to be, but it really is a very, very easy tool. It looks great. It's very easy to manipulate the way you want it to work for you, but I think it really sets us apart from most of the competition.
And one thing I'd say in terms of who you use this for, use it for everyone. I think one mistake that agents make is their neighbor, their best friend, a family member wants their house listed. You're still on stage. You're still having a tryout. If you're not having a tryout for that listing, you're having a tryout for future referrals. And so it's easy to sometimes say, oh, this is a friend. I can go over there, tell them what I think it's worth and all that, and not put on my dog and pony show. Always put on your dog and pony show.
Excellent point. And I have never understood why somebody would do a better job for somebody they have no knowledge of and don't even know, and then have a friend or a relative and do a lesser job for them. Why would you
always give out referrals of people that we want to hear good things back. Man, I can't believe that you sent me a great person. If they don't know you're a great person based on the presentation you did, they're probably not going to refer you. So always have your A game on, regardless of who you're listing for.
And just think, if you're really not a great person, your presentation might help you.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say the exact same thing, Tom, and not only that, it gets you great practice. So for those that you are going to have to compete with, so treat the people that you know, they're your best help in terms of, you know, getting the nervousness out when you do these. Is do it, and, you know, do it for the people that, you know, you've already got the listing, or the people that you're already comfortable with. And it's only going to help you with those that you really have to compete for.
Yeah. I want to ask a question, Michelle. Just, you may not do this, but do you do the adjusted CMAs where you add in values, subtract values, and things like that?
No, I do not.
Okay.
That's actually what Pete and I are wanting to get into.
Yeah.
Next month.
Well, and what the way Michelle presented today with a range, you're going to be right in there. So every one of you can, based on what you were presented today, you can feel comfortable. That 2% range like Michelle had, it's going to work. That's going to give you your numbers. But this tool also has the capability, when we were in the listings pages, there's a button that says add adjustment, and you'll be able to go listing by listing. And if you can't narrow your results down to an exact match to the house you're about to list, you can say this one had 3 baths, And you can go in and put a number in and say, I'm going to give $5,000 credit to this house because it did have 3 bedrooms. And so there'll be a future class that teach you those adjustments on bathrooms, on square footage adjustments. They're not a dollar for dollar square footage adjustment when the square footage is different between houses. Appraisers don't do it that way. So there'll be future classes, but everything you learned today, you could go out and you could win a listing.
Right.
And get the price pretty right.
And for anybody who wants to stay on here, if you need to jump off, great. But to that point, I was going to show you if you want to go, okay, because very many times I'm seeing right now that if there are any active listings that my house is trying to compete with, there's probably not very many. So your seller is going to probably ask the question, okay, can we push the market a little bit? Where would you suggest that I start? So when I go into RealTracs, I love this report. So you go under report and then you go to market stats, and it's going to pull, this bar. Let me just show y'all this. Do it this way. Go straight into it. So market stats. And by the way, if you haven't taken the statistics class from RealTracs, make a point to sign up there. But I go over here to fast stats. And then we're looking right now at Hermitage. So that's where I'm going to click. And then it pulls up the latest market data. So as of March 2022, this is so good. And this is why I like to include it in my presentation, because people want to know what the market is doing. So down here, you can see in Hermitage, year to date from March to March of last year, the amount of inventory for sale is down 54% in Hermitage. In places like Mount Juliet, that's closer to 90%. I mean, it's that crazy in some places. Months inventory supply, 1 month. Normally in a quote unquote normal market, you're at like 6 months right here. We're at 1. Some is even less than that. But as far as pricing goes, look at this line right here. So percent of list price received. So right now, sellers in the Hermitage market on average are getting 103.2% of their asking price. So where that comes into play is back on our presentation here. The average price of the comparables was what, I think $431. So let's say there's no other active listings on the property, which in his particular neighborhood, there's not. So, I might take that $431 and I might add 3% to that. I might try it that way. And again, and you learn that you don't want to price yourself so far out of the market, but it is important for your sellers or your potential sellers to see that, okay, this is the trend. And on the buyer's side, this also helps. And Tom can go into the real specifics of this, but this shows you that if you're a buyer, you're probably going to have to go at least 3% above the list price to be able to get the property. And that's usually at a minimum.
What that doesn't even tell you is that's the average. And there are some houses out there that are overpriced. They're selling for less than list price. So some of them are minus 5, 10%. That 3% is everything. So probably for a very nice house, it's more than 3%. Because you throw out all the ones that were garbage or overpriced and sold for less. But it's great information. And not only sharing the information with your clients, not only good information from setting the right price standpoint, it's good information when you start sharing this stuff with your clients and the next person doesn't. You're the informed agent. You know what's going on in the market. And you're messing with their money. So don't hesitate from using it.
Yeah, I would always also say that be careful how it could backfire too, because I have an example of, I had a house, I priced it right, and I had, I think 8 offers with potential getting more, and it fell through. When it fell through, we took a look at all the offers, and I wanted to place the house right back where we were. And we want to put it higher. And what happened was we got one offer. The reason why is buyers now also are smart and they know that they're going to have to come out, they have to come out of pocket so much money. So if you're pushing that, that price range, you're also knocking some people out. And if we would have kept it, I believe we would have kept it where we needed to keep it, we probably would have made more money than what we wound up getting today.
And that slide was in the presentation. You talked about that. How much of the market you carved out?
Correct.
Going too high. Yeah.
Yeah. He knows it now. I told him.
Jonathan.
All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Couple questions. Jonathan's got a question, it looks like.
Yeah, if I would say co-listing a property with another agent and I created a presentation, would the easiest way to share that presentation with the other agent be via email, or is there a better way to create a presentation and share it with another agent?
Well, let me show you that. Very good question. Can't imagine who you'd be sharing that with, Jonathan.
One of us has to know what's going on technologically.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so this is also really cool for somebody like Jonathan who's helping another agent, or if you're on a team for the Scott Zeller people out there. So here I've got my presentation created, or let's say I want to share with another one of my teammates this master copy. I click on the kebab. So glad I know what that's called now. And you've got assign down here. So you've got a couple different options. You can assign it to an agent. So if you want to, like if I wanted to share this with Jonathan, if I wanted to share mine, I could send my presentation to him. Or if you want to have a co-presenter, see, click on this. This last option here is add co-presenter. So
PAPA.
All right, so there he is, pops up there, hit add. And then now if Jonathan, if Pete were to go in on his Moxi presentations, that presentation is going to be there for him as well too.
Nice.
Thank you.
I think Ashley had a question.
Ashley, you got one?
Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to unmute.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, how long did it take you to modify your template to where, like, just at like about how long?
You know, that's a good question because I've probably spent 2 to 3 days like jumping back and forth just when I had time. But overall, I would say realistically, once I got comfortable with it, maybe an hour.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, 1 to 2.
Yeah, it's really, you just have to get used to it. But once you do get familiar with it, it's not long at all. And then again, once you get these masters set up, if that's how you choose to do it, it's just super, super easy because it's just clicks of a button, really.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Yep.
Hey, I did my first listing presentation in Moxi, and I have to say it was really user friendly, and Ashley helped me and we kind of tweaked it together, and it was really, I mean, I enjoyed using it, especially going into my first listing presentation. I felt really comfortable with, the information, and it was great.
You got it.
So don't be scared to use it.
Awesome.
Michelle,
Yes, ma'am.
hear something?
Are you there, Valencia?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. The biggest thing and just sharing is just making sure you're presenting, but also tweak it to each client, like Tom has mentioned, Davis mentioned, because each client is unique and different. But the more you're using it, the more you'll be more comfortable with it, and the more you'll be able to definitely know who needs what part of presentations. So whether you're emailing them or doing it.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point too, that if you get somebody that's like, I'm in a hurry, I just want to know what my house is worth, like take out all the pages except for like the 6 that you need that have the comparables on it and the price. I mean, don't be afraid to do that too. If you are going to get some of those more aggressive people who it's like, just show me the bottom line. I don't want all the rest of this stuff. Like, give me my numbers.
And I think Pete mentioned that earlier. Even if you've got something there with all those pages, don't feel obligated, or maybe it was you, Michelle, to go through all those pages. If it's somebody that you find out when you're sitting there that, hey, this is somebody that, hey, they're ready to go, they got something else to do, don't sit there and bore them to death. Go straight to the point, and you'll know. I mean, you'll know pretty quick. Do it.
Yeah.
Get them done.
Yeah.
there.
If you're losing them and their eyes start to glaze over, like,
Absolutely. Don't lose them that way.
skip to the important parts.
Are the numbers going to be updated, that, you know, the stats from 2020 to at least 2021 anytime soon?
We've got tons of information in BrandServe that we could create custom pages and take those out.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking about when they
Yeah.
had that was a quotables from 2020, and I think that came out like in July of 2021. So they'll probably be, the next ones will probably come out in July. But even if they'd have just taken the 2020 out, I mean, it's, the numbers are still impressive regardless of what year they come from. But we could actually create, like Tom said, maybe our own page that's got it.
And maybe, Michelle, you pulled from the brokerage template, and that brokerage template is 2 years ago. I'm not sure that if you went create new and pulled from a Coldwell Banker template, that those pages are already there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something we can definitely be manipulating behind the scenes on our end, where we'll work on getting some of those pages updated for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good question. All right. Anybody else? Did y'all learn something today?
Can I say one thing? I went up against Open Door on this listing. And what he told me was he was impressed with all the information that we were able to give him. And it was in black and white, and crunching all the numbers. And he was impressed by that. And part of the listing presentation answered so many questions for him, because when he finally does list, he knows he's going to be crunched on time. And that all being factored in, that helped him make decisions as far as numbers go. When we got down to the nitty gritty, like you said, Michelle, net proceeds, all of that, that helped him make a decision, plus the strength of our company, you know. And he liked the fact that I was so confident. Had he only know that I was a little bit nervous, because I'm just coming back into the market from another market. And I was a little anxious, you know, because, you know, it is like riding a bike. You get back in there and you can do it. But, you know, I did have a certain sense of anxious, you know, but with this product and the presentation, it helped me present a lot stronger than I felt, to be honest with you. You know, so the presentation really does help you, and I encourage everybody to use it.
Thank you, Patty. That's an amazing testimonial for sure. Just like Danielle's. And to Patty's point, we actually, we were able to price, and I say we, Patty, but she actually gave him a higher price, which we think is very realistic than what Open Door said that they could sell it for.
Forgot about that part.
Yep.
And to the point of, you were in the brokerage template that we created 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You go into the Coldwell Banker template. There's global luxury templates, so you can have global luxury focused pages. But like #1 rated real estate ad. If you click on that, not come up. Yeah. So the 10 years in a row through 2021, the one that said #1 real estate brand online. Again, this is from as late as 2021. So the updated pages are there even if they're not in the brokerage template. So you can use those as resources.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we can get some of those updated for sure.
I think we're living in a time now where this type of system, not only with the data, how it was updating every time you pulled it up, but by Coldwell Banker maintaining these for us now, we don't have to go create our own. So we'll migrate more towards what's there.
Yeah. All right, y'all. We're about 20 minutes behind, but hope you got a lot out of this. Again, it's recorded, so it will be uploaded onto the YouTube page later. Again, that's CB Marketing, but we're going to be doing a lot more of these. And yeah, hopefully it helped. Thank you all for showing up today. Go get some
Thanks,
listings.
Michelle and Pete.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
guys.
Good
Michelle.
job, guys.
Everyone.
Bye. Thank you.